To order. So we'll start with the roll call, if you don't mind. Whoever likes to do that.
Thank you, President Broussard. President Broussard.
Here.
Thank you. Vice President Cavello. Here. Thank you. Commissioner Torgerson. Here. Thank you. Commissioner Bowl. Thank you. Commissioner Schiffer.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Rithaller.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Cura. Here. Thank you. Commissioner Francisco.
Present.
Thank you, sir. And Commissioner Wildcat.
Here.
Thank you. Liaisons, Senator Driscoll, are you here today?
He's politicking.
Is he? He's here, but not in the room. Thank you. Representative Newsom. Here. Good morning. Thank you. Governor Liaison Labanal.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. Also joining us today, we have the Attorney General's Office, Mike Kaler, and Governor's Policy Advisor, Sarah Dorenzo.
Thank you, Charlie. Do you want to read the welcome and the procedures?
Yes. You'd think I'd have this memorized after this many years, but I don't. Well, welcome to the day 2 of the Wyoming Gaming Commission meeting. And what I have today for you is just briefly a recap on yesterday, if you don't mind. We had a very good day yesterday, I believe. We covered a lot of ground. We had some great presentations that were designed to be for information only, covering laboratory testing for the horses, responsible gaming, and then Gaming Laboratories International as well. We made some great headway on track safety. The commission motioned and passed to have staff look into a rule that would potentially eliminate participation in bush track or non-sanctioned events. And we also got some really good direction on the safety rules. Continuing on item 6 yesterday, we had a very brief discussions on skill-based amusement games and on online sports wagering. At this point, we had no concerns from the licensees. And then we had a good discussion on the rodeo events and have some direction there. We have a carryover item 6D, we will carry over to today's. It will be carried over to item 4B today, and we'll continue that discussion on general parimutuel rules, specific, I think, to Chapter 8. Had an executive session yesterday and then adjourned shortly thereafter that. And then we had our tour of skill-based amusement game and then off-track betting locations, and had our meet and greet at Rocca's Pizzeria here in Casper. So thank you for everybody's participation. Thank you for everybody's participation today, and we look forward to it.
Thank you. At the moment, would everybody join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I think the general consensus was that everyone wanted to start with rules first thing in the morning. Is that right? Okay. Charlie, do you have a pleasure? Do you want to start with that, or do we want to go President's report and then come back to rules after we warm up?
Well, we would continue with the rules in item 4D.
D?
So that would be later.
Okay. Well, then let's do that. 4D. 6, Delta, general parimutuel rules. So Charlie, did you have, there's some line outs?
What he's saying is
So, President, we're
those
starting with
basically come to right
item
here.
2 today, which would be the president's
Over
report.
here, up here.
Let's see. It says, anything that's left over goes to 4B.
Okay, all right.
So that'll just roll down here. So we'll just go back to 2.
Okay, so we're at 2, item 2 for the second day. All right,
Yes, sir.
let's do that then. So President's report, I don't have a whole lot to say, but I would like to extend a thanks to the folks who put on the meeting last night, the meet and greet. It was good. Food was good, and it gave us an opportunity to talk to people about topics other than gaming. And I appreciate that, ladies and gentlemen, whoever were responsible. So that's all I have to say. Charlie, if you want to go to item 2B, financial report.
Yes, thank you, President Broussard. We have in your packet the financial reports. If you have any questions, any concerns, we would need a motion potentially to approve. If you have any questions on the financials, I can sure try to answer those to the best of my ability.
Commissioners, have you all found that document in your packet?
Starts on page 245.
Does anyone in the commission have questions for Charlie about the financial report?
Mr. President, I would move to approve the financial report as submitted.
Thank you, Cactus. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roger, any questions at this point about the financial report? Any comments, discussion? Anyone on Zoom? No. Okay, then we'll call the vote. All in favor of approving the financial report as presented, state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. All right, thank you. We're now moved to item number 2, Charlie or C, wagering activity report.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. In your packet, you have the wagering activity report up through the third quarter of this year. We can either go through that page by page, or I can do just a quick summary of that report if you'd like me to. What is your pleasure? Thank you. The summary report, if you note on the activity report, is on page 8 in your packet there for that particular item. Historical horse racing, we're in positive 5% at this point. Simulcasting, we are down 27% from the previous quarters. Skill-based amusement games, we're seeing a 10% increase. Online sports wagering, we're seeing a 9% increase. Advanced deposit wagering, we're seeing a decrease of 26%. So overall, on all the activity, we're at a decrease of 6% overall. Something that, to kind of dial in on some things, it's interesting. I went through the reports, and I don't think it's in your packet, Commissioners, and I can provide it to you. I'd like to just go through the first quarter. The total wagering activity for live horse racing, $2,393,000. That translated to an $18,866 to the Breeders' Award Fund, and then $35,902 to the state to operate for our operations part. Historic racing, $1,200,000 in wagering activity. To the Breeders' Award Fund, $4.9 million. To the state, which is the agency to operate, $3 million. The LISRA, $3 million and change. The county beneficiary, $6.3 million. And the city beneficiary, $5.9 million. Simulcasting of live events, the Breeders' Award Fund, total wagering activity, $2,800,000 and change. Breeders' Award Fund, $18,000. The state of Wyoming, $42,000. Skill-based amusement games, total wagering activity, $20 million. The School Facilities Fund, $1.8 million in change. The state, the agency in this particular situation, $406,000. The county distribution, $987,000, and the city distribution, $843,000. Online sports wagering, $300,000 to the Department of Health, and then $771,000 to the general fund. Advanced deposit wagering, the Purse Enhancement Fund, $57,000. The off-track wagering operators, $7,600. The state, $3,800, and the Breeders' Award Fund, $7,600. And then the LISRA transfer, we have in our funds, in our 049 account, which is our operating funds, anything over 1.5 million is transferred each quarter to the LISRA. And for some of you that may not know, and the people who are listening to us on Zoom, the LISRA is the Legislative Stabilization Reserve account. That transfer through the first 3 quarters was $1.9 million from the agency. And that's additional, that's above and beyond the other distributions we have. So the total benefit, whether it's the state of Wyoming, whether it's the agency, breeders, LISRA, excuse me, city, county, general fund, off-track wagering operators, purse enhancement funds, is over $30 million has been paid to the beneficiaries of these. Quite a lot of money, quite a lot of wagering activity, and I think those are definitely significant.
Thank you. Just a quick question, Charlie. The page 8 that you were discussing, that percent difference is quarter over quarter. That's not year to date, is it? Yeah, we're.
Why don't you grab that microphone, Misty, and if you could answer that question for Mr. Broussard.
Compared to what? Okay. But that's not percent difference year to date.
I'm sorry, yeah.
It's not year to date.
Okay.
Yeah. It's previous quarter.
Is that somewhere year to date?
No, it's
No,
not on
okay.
here. But if you want that, I can get that to you.
I think that's fine. If it's not there, we'll probably get it next time.
I'll have it on there next time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, we'll move to item number 2, Delta D skills-based amusement game update.
Thank you, President Broussard. Item 2D, skill-based amusement games. I'll turn that over to Mike Steinberg, give any updates that he has at this point. Or Nick, excuse me. I'm sorry, Nick. I apologize.
That'd be me. President Broussard, skill-based amusement games currently, everything's kind of status quo. Everything's going pretty good. We don't have any new vendors in the pipeline or anything like that, and everything's going pretty well.
Thank you. Anybody have a question for Nick? He's hoping not, but okay, good. All right, item number 2E, be Echo, online sports wagering update. That's Mike.
President Broussard, I'll take this one. Kind of the same as skill games, everything's going well, status quo. We do have one vendor that you approved in the late September meeting, has a few days left to pay their fee. They're deciding because they put their application in and didn't realize that the person they had a contract with withdrew. So they have no customer, so they're deciding if they want to keep their permit or not. Other than that, we have one additional one that just came in the pipeline, a vendor.
So if you wouldn't mind reminding us, how many operators of sports wagering do we have? at the
We
moment?
have six
And possibly
permitted.
a 7?
No, we don't have any operators in the pipeline, one additional vendor.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, President Bouchard. First off, I wanted to start by talking about a number I gave to Director Moore yesterday regarding the safety issues and to clear that up regarding the time that a horse has to be on the grounds. It's 4 hours prior to post, so most horses need to be on by 9. I answered 11. That's what time our vet likes to have everything done and compiled so they can get ready, have all the horses checked by 11. So I apologize for that, and I just wanted to correct that here. So you guys knew that the pre-race exams, horses needed to be on the grounds at 9, 4 hours prior to post. So then I'll move on to the live meet and breeders award program summary. I did attach a new report that you guys should have got in your packets. It's the breakdown of purse distribution report from 2014 to the third quarter of 2023. And that's for you guys to review. I'm going to go ahead and do a summary on all live meet and breeders awards and combined it. The commission granted 52 live race dates in 2023 to 3 permittees that hosted the races throughout the state. Out of the 52 days, only 49 actual races were run due to inclement weather. Rain, and more rain crippled the Gillette area track, as Energy Downs had to cancel 3 days, therefore only running 13 days of the 16 granted. Wyoming Downs completed their 20, and the Wyoming Horse Racing ended the racing season running 16 days as requested. Over 4.7 million in purses were paid out to horsemen in 2023, of which 3.6 million came from the permittees, and almost 1.1 million from the actual horsemen, which came from fees, which is stakes nominations paid directly from the horsemen participating in Wyoming. So proving to the fact that the horsemen do pay to run in Wyoming. The racing season was about 5 months of live racing. We started the middle of May until the first day in October. From the 3 racetracks, there were combined 467 races conducted with 3,644 starters. Of those starters, 2,419 were quarter horses, 1,255 thoroughbreds, of which 46% of the starters were Wyoming bred. A historical and pivotal event was attained at Wyoming Downs in 2023. The richest race on record in Wyoming history ran for a top purse of $200,400 in the Wyoming Downs Open Quarter Horse Futurity. In this open futurity, let me remind you, the top 2 finishers, 1, 2, were accredited Wyoming breds. A true test of the state's breeders program where homebred horses are competitive in open company. They can compete with the best. The two other Wyoming permittees also offered huge purses and Wyoming bred futurities. 307 Horse Racing, Energy Downs, had a $115,000 race for Wyoming breds, and Wyoming Horse Racing LLC, Sweetwater Downs, had a race of $164,000. Also, a key event was the Wyoming Horse Racing LLC ran the very first Wyoming bred restricted thoroughbred race in history, which should be the first of many. We are having a lot more thoroughbreds. It's becoming a prominent, mares are coming in. I mean, this is just a fact of how well the industry is doing. There are high hopes that 2024 will see the first ever accredited thoroughbred futurity and hopefully Derby, as there are now enough thoroughbreds to fill some races like this. Quite a feat. In 2022, over $5.1 million was awarded to the owners, breeders, and stallion owners who participated, let me refer, in the Wyoming Bred Breeders Program. In 2023, the estimated total in the fund should exceed $6 million, making it again one of the highest per capita Breeders Award Program fund distributions in the nation. There were 369 accredited bred racehorses that participated for a piece of the Breeders' Award Fund in 2023 compared to 312 last year, a 57 horse increase. I imagine that these increases will keep going. Next year, we should have 100 more horses and just keep going on and on. My theory is, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. Safety, once again, was a priority and main topic of discussion during the racing season. The Wyoming Gaming Commission hired another commission vet mid-season for live race days and implemented pre-race examinations be conducted on 100% of horses participating. With so many factors being attributed to the safety and outcome of breakdowns, we must focus on the things that we can control. This must be a priority from the commission, with pre-race checks, tightening up procedures, and the permittees making it a priority to have the best racetrack surface, proper equipment, knowledgeable trackman, and staffing. Veterinarians having safe and moral practices, and horsemen to be accountable for their day-to-day operations and entering and racing sound, healthy horses. We need to have a culture of shared responsibility when it comes to safety from all stakeholders, everyone in this room. The commission, racetrack owners, staff, vets, horsemen, we need to strive for this state to be known for safety integrity, among anything else. During the live race meets, over 931 samples were sent from either post-race, out of competition, injury, or vet list horses, which we saw yesterday with Petra Hartman showing what they did. It's great. I work with her day to day. We have a lot of samples, and this is just one of the many that a lot of people don't understand that happens through the commission, that we have to, handle all these samples. All testing was performed by the industrial labs in Denver. We had 724 blood samples, 115 urine, and 92 hair. Out of the 931, 20 came back with a final positive result. 12 were from post-race, 8 were out of competition, and just note, all the injury horses and euthanized were found with no violations. So they were running clean. The positives, the 12 positive post-race, those were all reflected in rulings from the stewards, and the horsemen were adjudicated with fines and suspension days as well. We only have one left right now, and once that gets done, it should be this November, end of November, we should have all the races cleared for the season. A big topic of discussion in 2023 was the Wyoming bred portion of the conduct of races rule signed by Governor Mark Gordon and filed with the Secretary of State on March 30th, 2023. It was imperative that the Breeders' Award Program made changes that affected, but not limited to, stallion accreditation date, moving and transport of breeding stock, suspension and penalties of breeding stock. The commission has been diligent about rule revisions to enhance the fund and provide support to help regulate this very lucrative program. This year alone, during inspections so far, there has been 85 horses that have been suspended from the program due to transport movement infractions on broodmares and stallions. These consist of either open mares that were not pregnant, who did not return to the state after breeding, as their owners in other states decided to not bring them back, which we had discussed that was a huge problem. And then the other ones were not at their certified location on record with the commission, this was just proving that there was a need for change. And we've done it. Give a hand to the inspectors that are out there trying to find these horses. They've been, since August 15th, they've been, hammering out there. We have 3 or 4 go at a time. So it really, all of that, countless times that we spent on tightening up the Wyoming bred program, this proves that there was a need for it, and now we can govern this and do the penalties and suspensions like they should be. To end, I can honestly say, from having no racing in 2010 and very few Wyoming bred registered during that time, and where we are at today with over 750 breeding stock registered as Wyoming breds and the increase in Wyoming bred racehorses, it is truly amazing to watch the landscape of live horse racing and the Breeders' Award Program change for the positive in Wyoming. I must say, it is a remarkable time to be a part of racing in Wyoming and to raise and race accredited Wyoming breds. I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Brandy. Do you have any questions for Brandy?
Mr. President.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brandy, is there a chance, or do you provide that report to the commission regarding the violations of the racers or the owners and the trainers?
Yes, the rulings are on, we don't provide them to you directly. We definitely can, but they are on our website under rulings, and I keep that updated after every ruling. So we keep that updated, so you can go on there and see the violations that have happened and what the penalties were by the stewards and what was done there.
Okay, thank you.
President Broussard, Commissioner Kerr, we'll get that link to you all. Send that to you either today, or tomorrow.
Thank you.
President.
Go ahead, Roger.
Brandy, does that, is the information about the breeders' violations on the Wyoming bred stuff, is that also available out there?
No, not at this time. That's within, the investigators have that. Right now, we're sending out, they go inspect, they do the letters, they send the letters, and then a copy comes to me and I put that in the system.
Okay.
But that is something that we can have at the end of I think, Nick, don't you think that by the end of, when we're all complete, we could get the violations
Okay, thank
there
you.
for you, and however you guys would like to see it.
Yes, go ahead. You have a hand up. Commissioner Schiffer, you have a question?
Excuse me. Good morning, Mr. President. I just think maybe we ought to give Brandy a little hand and of applause for the hard work she does. And I mean, I know this is a very complicated area that she's navigating, and she's really doing a terrific job. So I would like to thank her personally and hope the commission feels the same way. Thank you.
Of course, yeah.
Oh,
Take a bow, take a
well,
bow.
thank you. That's appreciated.
Yeah, we can be proud of that in Wyoming. Okay, more questions? Any other questions for Brandy or comments? Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you very much, Brandy. Okay, we'll move to item number 2G, and that is the meeting dates.
President Broussard, item 2G, meeting dates. This is designed to we need to talk about how we plan our meetings in the future. You know, do you want to set once a month? I hope not, but if that's necessary, we can get that figured out. How do we want to do that? Do we want to do the first Tuesday of the month? Do we want to do whatever option is best for you? Set quarterly meetings that are in-person meetings, and then Zoom meetings may be scheduled periodically as needed. And part of the dilemma, as I think most of you know, with the meetings and setting those dates, we have some of our statutes that require us to make an approval by a certain date. We have a 60-day window, we have a 90-day window, and then we have basically no window for the different activities that we're regulating right now. So we have to be mindful of those things, which we can call Zoom meetings for some of those quick turnarounds and things. It's, I would love to be able to schedule those to where they fell into a traditional meeting that we have set, but it just doesn't work that way. We can't control when those hit our desk. So discussion, give us some guidance, what works best for you. And then along with the meetings as well too, not only are we looking at frequency of the meetings, locations of the meetings, also the information sharing. Are we getting the right information to you? Is there a better way of serving you commissioners, getting that information, and to the liaisons? We try very hard to get this information. There's a lot of it out there going out, education and different things. And just making that next step or next leap into the bigger world that we're approaching.
So Charlie, at the moment, we have 4 planned meetings, and then all the other meetings are special meetings. Is that kind of how it's been the last couple of years?
In your packet, you will see we do have some the meeting dates for the last few years that we've had. We've got our 23 this year's meetings, and then 22 and 21, and we have come very close to having a meeting a month. And currently we don't really have the structure. We've been reactive instead of proactive on meetings. And typically what I'll try to do is do just like what you said, set up about 4 meetings in the future, do that in December and January for the next year. So, excuse me.
The only way we could really control our schedule is if we had a time where people could apply, like a window, and that would fall, but we're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to control that. So applications come in whenever they want, then the clock starts for us. So we don't have control of that
Correct.
schedule, correct? So is there not a way to have a window of applications that then fits with our schedule?
President Broussard, there's not really a way that we can mandate when we receive the applications. I'm not really a mathematician, but I think we've talked about this before, if we did some like bi-monthly, every other month, and set it for like, a Wednesday, second Wednesday, whatever the case may be, if we do it every other month, that would give us 6 meetings. That's going to cover the vast majority of that 60 or 90-day window.
Well, I'm okay if we get down to 6 meetings. That's works for me. What about any comments from the rest of the commissioners? Or
It's very manageable.
no?
We'll still end up having it.
Yeah, we'll probably have some special stuff, but if there's Zoom, I think that works for me. The other questions, location, Casper's 3.5 hours from me, but if we moved it, it would be maybe easier for one, but not the other. I'm okay with Casper. Anybody have a comment? My question? How about you, Charlie? Charlie, you like Casper? Oh, yeah.
Just for sake of the discussion, it had come up from a previous commissioner that that it would be a great idea to move the meetings around again. And I say again, because in the past, we used to try to have them scattered across the state. Well, that was when you had 4 or 5 meetings at the most.
Yeah.
And it was a little easier to do that. And it was also when we were only monitoring horse racing. And now we have a large portfolio that we have to cover. But with that, it's extremely to get our staff loaded and go. This has been an amazing asset, this building for this commission. You have no idea how the stress level when we know that we have connectivity. And I understand the legislative branch, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, LSO has a van with equipment when they're going off-site, and they have a lot of different things that we don't have that access to. While it'd be great to serve our public and serve the people and be able to get in other areas in the state, and maybe we look at one meeting a year that's maybe held in a different spot, for instance, maybe right in the center of the state in Riverton, something like that. But, just to kind of, we've thought about a lot of this, and yes, this is easy and logical for a lot, but I do know it makes for some travel for a few of you it is tougher.
Sure. Now, I know in the past, the ones we had that was partial education around the racetracks. Again, I'm not lobbying for any particular racetrack, but I think for the commissioners who would get to see some of the behind the scenes stuff, that's appreciated maybe every other year, if that works. As far as going to a location that helps with sports wagering, it's not really an advantage anyway. There we go. But I did appreciate those. I learned a lot on those meetings.
So if I'm hearing the commission correctly here, it looks like try to shoot for 6 meetings, okay? And then potentially majority of those here in Casper?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. And then potentially schedule Zoom meetings to accommodate some of the odds and ends and updates and stuff. Okay. Is there any day of the week that works best for everyone?
Well, not Tuesday. That's not a good day for me.
Okay.
Not Thursday.
Somebody gonna say not Thursday?
Yeah. Not Friday. Yeah. Yeah. Sunday at 2 a.m. That's my best.
And I know we have some that have the end of the month, have several meetings. What would be helpful for me would be to send us some of your conflicts in an email to either myself or any one of the staff, and we'll put those together. We could do a doodle, do a poll too, but I think just send those in an email if you wouldn't mind, some of those kind of hard stop conflicts that you may have. And we can see if we can try to kind of sort through that and come up with something that works.
For me, the more heads up, the better possibilities. And that's just the ones that are short notice are difficult, obviously, but if we do put them on the calendar a year in advance, I know that I can schedule them easier.
Yeah, for me, it's just still got to work and I can work around some of the stuff, but there's going to be times when I might just have to do like Commissioner Schiffer and just get on the Zoom button.
All right. Thank you.
Yes,
Chuck.
and I think for the public, it's the best thing for the public to give plenty of notice so they have those opportunities to make those plans. A lot of these folks have to fly in. They're not necessarily right here, so if they have the advance notice. So what we'll do is, if you would please, sooner than later, send me any conflicts you have that you may have so we can kind of put that in a document. And then we'll schedule 6 meetings with Zoom meetings to fill in if needed and try to scatter those out through the summer evenly. So with all this, then the next meeting of the Gaming Commission would be potentially in January, I would think. And is that accommodating for you all?
Will we need to have a Zoom in December for any applications or anything?
President Broussard, we have a few things that are pending. Sorry, President Broussard, we do have a few things that, some operators would like to have done sooner than later. It could be probably a pretty quick Zoom meeting for those approvals. And then if we started in January and we did the third Thursday of January, then it would just go January, March, May, July, September, something like that. But yeah, we could certainly work that out.
Sounds great. Thank you for asking, Charlie. Any other comments about organizing us?
With that, I'd also mentioned, the information sharing. Is there too much, too many emails periodically to you trying to keep you updated? What works best for you folks?
Yeah, go ahead, Cactus.
Mr. President and Director Moore, the more the better. I mean, if we're not kept up to date on what's going on, how can we be reactive? How can we know what's going on in the industry? I like to know what's going on. I like people to pick up the phone and call me if they want to talk about it. I mean, I hope people understand that they can do that and that we care about what's going on. So the more the better to me.
Yes, and I agree with that. And we try to get a lot of information, whether it's industry information, and any of the folks in the room here too. If there's any industry news that maybe we don't know that's out there, feel free to forward that to us so we can forward that on. And then vice versa, I'm periodically sending to people the things that come to me that are pertaining to the industry. For instance, the other day, talking about a racetrack superintendent's training and some different things, racing surface trainings in different contexts, forwarding those out to you. We want to get the information flowing. We want to come up with the best way to flow that information, whether it's the internal information the commissioners are getting or the public, and get that communication and do a better job. And any advice on that to assist you all in your decision making, and you folks on what's happening out there as well, back and forth would be very helpful. That can either funnel through myself or Nick or Brandy or Mike. Any one of us can take that. Sarah Beth, anybody in the office. If there is something, if you have a relationship, please forward it to them and we'll look at that. Is the information getting to you for the meetings in the drive format? Is that working better? Sure. As long as I remember to forward the link for the drive, and that's my problem, but we've solved it. I'm no longer responsible for that. Sarah Beth is responsible for making sure that gets out. I apologize for that.
Now that works for me.
As we grow, as we expand, and please, I know, President Broussard, Vice President Covello, but all of you commissioners, please, if you have an idea to better serve you, please pick up the phone and call. It's very easy, and liaisons as well. If there's something that we can do better, that's what we're here to do each and every day, and get that information out to you. So, well, we'll set those meetings and we'll get those set up. And get throughout the year on all of our meetings for you folks, so everybody can get their calendars marked.
Thank you, Charlie. Anything from the commission on that before we move on? Nope. All right, then we will move to item 2H, legislative update. And
Yes, thank you. Item 2H, the legislative update. Primarily what we're looking at here is the FBI concern with the background checks for the parimutuel activity. That's still kind of an outstanding concern. And maybe Representative Newsom will expand upon what I miss here, but TRW committee did form a task force of stakeholders in the agency and legislative branch and the governor's office as well. And we were able to pull into this the FBI. So we can sit down with someone, and thank you to the governor's office, specifically Sarah, for getting that contact with the governor, with the FBI, and getting someone that can and is willing to show up and tell us what we need to fix it. So I believe we are trying to schedule a Zoom meeting. Just received some of the emails this morning. So we're going to try to schedule the meeting potentially as early as next week to visit with them so we can get this thing moving forward and come up with some resolution to it. So we're making some headway, and thank you again for everybody that's had their head in the game and trying to work this out. I appreciate it. Did you have anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Charlie. Yeah, so at our last Tribal Recreation Wildlife Committee meeting, there had not been any movement on this, so we decided to set up a task force that will create legislation that will solve our problem. But the key, and thanks to Sarah, the key is to get the FBI at the table, because the last time we got communication from them, they seemed to say, we don't like what you have, fix it. But they didn't say how we fixed it. So, so we're trying to just get everybody at the table so we can say to them, does this fix it? And then legislatively, we need to make the title so narrow that it is hard to amend it, because people have stuff they want to bring in. And so we need to make the title so narrow that it fixes this one problem, and make it clear to the legislature that we need to fix this one problem. We don't need to delve into all of the gaming statutes and parimutuel statutes to fix other things. And so that's our plan. At this point, we'll get the legislation drafted. Senator Driscoll would like to start it in the Senate. We need a 2/3 majority vote to get something introduced. I will personally sponsor a mirror bill in the House. So if we lose that introductory vote in the Senate, that we can bring it in the House. And fortunately, Bob Davis is on board with us. So that kind of gives a couple different people with different viewpoints, maybe on policy, to sponsor this. And hopefully we could get it through the House if it fails in the Senate. So we kind of have a backup plan as well. Because if without this piece of legislation, we have no racing season. So I would encourage everybody to get with your legislators, your senator and your representative, and encourage them to vote to introduce this bill, and encourage them to vote for the bill as we go forward with it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions about that? Anybody on the commission? No? Charlie? Is that it? Okay, we'll move on to you.
Mr. President, can I?
Thank you, commissioners.
Charlie, we have one
What are
question.
those bills? What are those, the names on those bills?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
They've not yet been drafted.
Okay.
So we're working with the FBI, with the governor's office, with the legislators to draft the bill, and then we will let you know when it has a bill number.
Charlie, could we, when those are actually drafted and have a name, could you get those out to us so that we could, when we do talk to our representatives, that we know a number?
Yes. Once that bill is released to the public, to the general public, we'll get that circulated to you, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm surely going to talk to my representative. Yeah.
And
Okay, just
to
so you
kind of-
know, I am Troy's representative. So.
Thank you, Sandy.
Just so you know, the process as we approach our legislative session, as a bill is public and we're able to circulate those, we do circulate those as quickly as possible. Now, there's another option as well. If the chairman goes ahead and, or the sponsor of that bill says it's all right to release that bill as well, we will get those out to you as quickly as possible, and there'll be a good flow of information through the session when that starts.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay, we'll go to the director's report. Item number 2I.
Yes, thank you, President Broussard. Item 2I is the director's report. Just a few things. Overlapping race days are still creating problems, while where they are at this point is manageable. With the overlapping race days is problem for our office for finding adequate staffing and adequate veterinary services through those periods of time. But again, the way it is currently and the way it is potentially proposed, we are able to manage that. With the additional veterinarians that we have to have at the track, now it creates some issues as well, but we made it through this summer, and we can make it through. We are budgeted currently through June of this year, July 1st of this year. We're potentially going to be very close to maxing out what we have budgeted. It's very possible that we may have to request an increase in our spending authority to accommodate some of the programs that we've had to put in place last summer, but that's a process that we can deal with in our office and hopefully get through. With the current budget, the 25-26 biennium budget, without having a crystal ball, without having knowledge of a lot of different things, and without the justifications for quite a bit more staffing and different things moving forward, we are not prepared with a budget that would accommodate much more race days than what we currently have. So that's something that's going to be problematic in the future. We are getting inquiries from several groups about additional races in the state, along with those additional racing opportunities. I'm assuming, because it's the funding stream, that they are looking at historic horse racing and the OTBs in the state. And again, without being able to really have a lot of the information at this point out there, our budget would not accommodate that. So therefore, there's the problem with we would be unable to properly regulate the events if we don't have the folks to do that. So there are those concerns as we go forward and as we look at things with the potential new operators that have been expressing interest in the state. That includes the budgeting, the staffing, but then additionally, the regulatory rules involved that we need to get up to date and work on. Additionally, something that we don't have a path for new applicants that want to build racetracks. And so we need to look at that and see what is the path moving forward for individuals that do want to invest and have that. So a lot of interesting things. I mean, growth is extremely, it's wonderful, but it also creates issues on both ends of this for us. And it's, and also some of this growth is it growth in racing? Is it growth in the racetracks? But I think what we need to look at as far as the commission's concerned too is that growth raising the tax base? Because if that tax base isn't rising significantly, then our revenues to our office to afford this isn't rising. So there's more opportunities here, but it's costing the state, costing the regulatory side of it. You know, it's an expense to us without that balance between the two. So, you know, if people are wanting to come in without significantly lifting the tax base, then how do we deal with that? So one of the things that I'd like to propose, commissioners, and would be for the agency to do an economic impact study for the state. Do a market analysis, whatever you want to call it. It would be a third-party market analysis. We would cover race dates. We would cover the feasibility of that, whether it's with horses involved, what all entails with that. We would also look at the feasibility of additional OTBs in the state. How much more can the state of Wyoming tackle and handle, benefiting the state? So I would propose doing that. We can do a market analysis. We can do an RFP on that. I don't know what it would cost. It'll be significant. We would probably have to ask for additional spending authority to do that. But, you know, I'm not afraid to ask for that, additional authority to do that. But I would propose that you direct staff to look into doing a market analysis of the parimutuel wagering in the state, but combining with all wagering activity, because it's all relative. It's all relative. So that's basically where I'm at this point. Additionally, you know, any additional race dates beyond what we have at this point in time for 2024 is problematic for us. Again, it goes back to finding the stewards, finding the veterinarians, and having those very important pieces to come together, and having staffing enough to get to those racetracks, whether it's licensing, whether it's our investigators. Yes, we do have additional people that we've been able to put on board, but again, it's harder and harder to find those employees. As you know, folks, we have one vacant position currently that's an auditor position that we can't fill. So, you know, all this positive does create some things for us to have to deal with as we move forward and move to the next level. With the market analysis, with the new rules in place, looking at where our inadequacies are, this would provide better guidance to potential new applicants and current applicants, and see whether we've got that growth out there. That's basically all I have at this point. Just as updates on a couple things, the Governor's Business Forum is next week, the 13th through the 15th. Yeah, that's next. Thanksgiving, obviously, is the 23rd. Our JAC hearings, Joint Appropriations Committee hearings on our budget is January 11th in Cheyenne. I would encourage any of the commissioners or legislative liaisons to join us in that budget meeting. And then we'll keep you updated on anything else that's happening in the industry as well. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Cactus.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a comment with respect to something that Charlie brought up. With regards to new racetrack proposals, obviously initially that sounds real exciting, but obviously it creates a lot of different problems for the commission. Obviously there can be solutions brought up, but I think in my mind, the carrot there obviously is the OTBs, and I think we need to make it crystal clear that any of them coming in, that they need to run a full race season before they apply for an OTB, that they need to prove that if they're coming to the state of Wyoming to invest in horse racing, that they're truly invested in horse racing before they begin throwing up OTBs.
Thank you. Any comments about Cactus's comment or Charlie's report?
Yes, Mr. President.
Go ahead, Roger.
Charlie, on doing that market analysis, I mean, I know we have some interest, but how, I guess, how hypothetical is that market analysis going to be? I mean, do we have some specifics about if they were to build a new track, where it would be, or in that market analysis, do we look at a couple of different scenarios?
Yes, I think we do have the information to make this a very specific, if we'd like to. What we're seeing right now, and what was it, last week, I believe, Laramie County heard a proposal for a racetrack west of town, east of Cheyenne.
Hillsdale exit on I-80.
Okay, the Hillsdale exit on I-80.
Yep.
So I think we can be very specific to this, and, but while we're being specific, we also need to be, statewide, look at all the statewide activity.
Yeah, I guess, I kind of where I was going with that, I think is it really up to us as the board to do that market analysis, or should we have some kind of cost sharing agreement with the people coming in? I mean, I know you're looking at the impact to the staffing and everything, but I don't want us to spend a whole bunch of money on kind of hypotheticals.
Yeah, thank you. That's an interesting concept. It's not in our rules. It's not in our regulations. So I don't, we'd have to look at that. But requiring a independent third party analysis. We do require feasibility studies currently with all of our applications. So I'm not sure. That's a good question though, how to do that. The study would be, the office wouldn't do it. We would have to go out through an RFP and find someone, and it's not going to be cheap. And we could do an RFP to see kind of where we're at, see what we get in return for that, and then, decide to either go forth or not too. You're not tied to that once you do that.
Thank you.
President Broussard, if I may, real quick,
Yes.
I'm not the attorney in the room. However, Wyoming statute does talk about the commission's responsibility to review the economic viability of these kinds of operations. So it does kind of, in my mind, it does kind of make it, it's a part of reviewing these applications and moving forward to ensure that they're economically viable for the state. So.
Thank you.
Senator Broussard?
Yes. Yeah.
I'd like to advocate for this being done just because it helps with the pre-planning and everything as we go forward. Economic impact studies can be used in all facets of, from budgeting to, because we're not just budgeting for this year, we're having to budget for years on out. I'd also like to see the saturation point if we're going to hit that too. This EIS can be used not only for us, but also for those across the industry as well.
Thank you. So a quick question. So, yes, Sandy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would agree, and I think that having this study going forward helps legislatively when you go into a budget hearing and you say, here's our economic impact, and this is why we need more staff. Because last time, I think Charlie asked for some additional staff, and it was denied. And I thought, what the heck? And I think if we had these numbers, if we said, here's why, here's the foreseeable increase in the need for more help, that would have maybe some more weight with the Appropriations Committee.
Thank you.
And that's a very good, President Broussard, that's a very good point. This would be a tool that our legislative branch could utilize as well. They would be able to see what does the future could look like and be able to draft legislation to maybe address any of the inadequacies that we may have. So I think there's a lot of positive things that could come out of that. Again, It always comes down to the cost of that and getting that permission to spend that extra money. But, you know, we can address that when we get to that point, I think. So I don't know quite where you all as a commission would like to go on this. We could write an RFP, I think, fairly quickly, and get that out there at least, and give a short window for a response to kind of come up with an idea of what that might cost, and then go to the next step.
Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would make one more suggestion. And I know that tourism does their economic impact statement on an annual basis. I don't think that's as important for this commission, but I would like to see it like every 3 years. And maybe we put it in as part of the standard budget. Once we get it approved, then that becomes part of the standard budget, and then we just make it our process to go forward and have it done periodically, whether that's every 3 years or every 2 years, every 5 years. I don't know what that number is at this point, but I think once it's done, it's easier for who's ever doing it to update it periodically. And I think that would be an important piece moving forward as well, that it's not a one and done, that it's an ongoing commitment to analyze the economic impact of gaming on our state.
Thank you. Charlie, when was the last one? 2 years ago? Or last year?
The last, I did a study in 2020, I think it was. Yeah, 21. And that was an internal study that we did. So yeah, that was the last one.
Wasn't there a private one for horse racing specifically? Yep, that you guys, yeah, I remember.
The people on Zoom can't hear you, so I can repeat that.
Yeah.
You know, Wyoming Horse Racing, Wyoming Downs and 307 Horse Racing did an economic study of their own in 22, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President,
You
Commissioner
have a
Ball.
hand up also.
I'm trying to think of how this would work. If we had an application, somebody had their financing lined up to build a track and an off-track betting facility. They had done their own analysis, thought that they could make a go of it. And we get an economic impact statement or a market analysis that draws that conclusion into question. Do we deny that application based on this analysis? I mean, are we going to tell an applicant that's put together a project, has their heart and soul in it, that you can't do it, even though you think you can be successful? We have this study that indicates that you're probably not going to be. I worry about the commission getting in the position of picking, deciding who's going to be successful and who's not out there. So as we go forward on this, we need to think about that. I worry about that. Typically, in Wyoming, don't we try to keep government out of those decisions? We let the private sector make the decisions about whether or not they can effectively compete, whether or not they can get a return on their investment. So I'm listening, and I'll continue to listen, but I have concerns about it. I really do, and because presumably the applicants are making their own market analysis. If they have a lender, the lender's looked at that. I don't know. Do we step into that? I don't know. Is that our proper role? So I raise those concerns with no answers, like always. And but I want you to know that I'm not totally on board with this thing. I need to ponder it some more. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowe. And you had a comment, Cactus? I know there's a hand up.
Go ahead,
Commissioner Ritwaller?
Thank you, President Broussard. I don't think we need to make a economic analysis of building a new racetrack. That's not our business. I'm kind of with Commissioner Bowe. Somebody's not going to put that money in until they know it's going to work. But I do believe sending out RFPs to find out exactly what it would cost us to see what it's going to cost the state of Wyoming to regulate it is a very good move for a lot of reasons, because if we do need help, it's easier to go to the legislature and add help to the budget. So I don't know if President Broussard, if a motion to just direct staff to formulate an RFP to be circulated for economic reasons for the commission alone, not exactly for new tracks or what's going on in the private world. That would be my question for you, President Broussard. Because if it is, I would make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I'll second.
So you have made a motion to direct staff to submit an RFP for specifically the economic impact on the commission. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yes, and they'll have to put in the RFP. I think it's pretty, when you send out an RFP, it's way easier to get somebody on board that might be doing it again than it's just a one-off RFP, that it might be something that is biannual or whatever the staff feels it should be for. Sometimes they'll get you a better deal if they kind of got their foot in the door.
Thank
I
you.
would add that one.
So we have a motion and a second from Cactus. Is there further discussion?
President Broussard?
Go ahead. Commissioner
So
Wildcat.
my understanding of the motion is the impact of the commission or
On
the
the
impact
commission.
on the commission?
No, the impact, excuse me, President Broussard, the impact on the state of Wyoming, and the commission is a part of state of Wyoming's government. Yes. Not if we need to build tracks or anything else, just what will it take for added revenue for the state of Wyoming to furnish the regulation and the personnel to have that happen.
So specifically, the impact on the commission and the state government if a new track or new tracks were built?
Yeah, and I don't know if you'd want to limit it just to tracks. It seems like this gaming thing is taking off. I think it should be for all the growth in the gaming society or in the gaming realm. That's a good word. Thank you.
All right.
So the gaming industry of the state, the economic impact / market analysis of gaming industry in the state, which would include skill-based tracks, yada, yada, yada. Right?
Sports wagering.
Yes.
So the impact of the growth of gaming industry as it pertains to the commission in the state of Wyoming, the government. Is that what I'm picking up?
Yes, I apologize. Yes, and I'm probably not articulating this right. Maybe somebody there's a better wordsmith, but really don't need to know if a new racetrack is feasible. Whoever's going to put that money in is going to have to do their own homework on that one. But
No, I understand.
cost-
It's coming from Wyoming into Cajun and then out to Human. So, no, we got it. We get
Okay,
it.
thank you.
So any further comments? So is the motion, Charlie, we have the motion. Okay, so we have a hand up.
I took it down.
Oh. All right. So let's start from the beginning. We have a motion. Is there a chance we could hear it? You want to hear it? Can you read it back to us?
You did a great job.
Through Cajun? Yeah.
I'm taking notes. You did
Okay.
a great job.
Okay. So you have it written? Okay.
Microphone.
Uh-huh.
Is that on? Okay.
They're just waving at you.
From the notes I took from what y'all said, it would be a motion to direct the staff to submit RFPs for an economic impact and market analysis study of the impact for the state of Wyoming and the commission on the future of the gaming industry.
The increase of gaming in the industry? Future growth. So I guess incrementally explain to us what growth looks like as it impacts the commission and the state government, not necessarily the state of Wyoming. Is that right? So more narrowly aimed towards what impact it has on the government, right?
Fine. Yes.
Okay.
I thought I said it very beautifully. Thank you.
All right. Okay. We have the second stands, and that's Cactus. Any more comments on that? To get an RFP. Anything from the commission? Anyone out there got a comment? Did you? Okay, we'll call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sorry, Eugene, did you have a comment? Oh, okay, all right. You were just picking your nose. All right, all in favor, sorry, all opposed, say nay. Okay, we have one nay. And then it's, how many ayes do we have on the Zoom? All?
President.
I'm an aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, so all but one. All right, thank you. Moving on to, Charlie, are you finished with director's report?
Yes, the only thing I do have, and I don't know if Nick wants to cover in there some of the OTB inspections and different things, that chart. Do you have that up? If you're not prepared for that, that's fine. It was included in the supplementals information.
Mr. President, if I could,
Go ahead, Roger.
Nick, I don't know if Sarah Beth pointed out to you, but these, if you could explain what happened on some of these charts.
Excel.
What's that?
happened.
Excel, that's what happened.
Okay,
Operator error.
okay.
When it calculated the fields, I had it was adding them
Column.
instead of doing it the right way in
Yeah.
the columns.
So the numbers are correct.
The numbers
charts
are
just
correct.
kind of
The
misleading.
charts are a little funky, but
Okay.
yes, the numbers are correct. President Broussard, so in your packet, you received, this is kind of our annual review of things that we've done. Briefly, I can just kind of go through it. So year to date, we have completed, about 70 OTB inspections throughout the state. We've had 5 OTB complaints. OTB complaints usually stem from a player not really understanding how the machines work. So they'll, put $1 in and spin, and the machine maybe will malfunction and shut down, and all of a sudden they were, the jackpot winner, and they don't realize that when the game comes back online, it shows exactly what it was going to happen because it was already determined what was going to happen. Those are always, so far, have always been resolved, satisfactorily to the customer's likings. We have completed, I took the totals off here because last year it was messing up the numbers, but roughly, let's see, about 1,000 skill game inspections. So the skill game inspections that's individual terminals that we've inspected and verified that they're in the correct location, operating the correct software version, and they are in fact at the licensed establishment that they are supposed to be at. The skill game side, we've received 1 complaint. That was for a non-payment on a ticket, which was also satisfactorily, remedied by the vendor. Some of the other reports that you have are for the live race season, things that were accomplished during the live race season. During the 2023 season, investigators and inspectors completed 2,133 barn inspections and monitoring. Means walking around the barn area throughout the race season, checking out stalls, looking in tack rooms. I wish I could equate that to how many steps that is, but it's a lot, I can tell you that. They spent about 361 times behind the starting gates, monitoring, the jockeys and the start of the race. They were in the saddling paddock monitoring the pre-start of the race 455 times. They were in the jocks room monitoring the jockeys, talking to jockeys, just looking for any suspicious behavior or things like that 149 times. They completed 183 electronic device searches. A lot of times that's done either via wand or hand pat downs as jockeys are going out to the track to run races. And we'll stop them as they go out and we'll wand them down and we'll pat them down to make sure that they're not carrying any, electronic buzzers. We gave, 500 and almost, 600 and some breath tests. The start of every day, every race day, agents and inspectors are at the jocks room as the jockeys come in to report for their mounts for the day. We PBT every single one of them. This last year, we started also doing, pony riders, gate crew. We'd randomly pick people that are working on that backside and doing, work on horseback or loading horses. We had a total of 5 positive tests, 5 positive PBTs. Of those 5, I think 3 of them were basically taken off their mounts. Gaming Commission rules state that anything above a .05, you're not safe to ride. We had 3 of those 5 that were over a .05, so they were removed from their mounts. They were also called into the stewards the next day. I think all of them were just fined. I don't think any of them were given days, but they all received fines for violation of that rule. We had, 12 positive substances in horses. Those are from the stuff that Brandy had covered, after the races are completed and they test the horses. Those are the ones that we got back, and stewards have dealt with all those but one that we have pending. And I'd stand for any questions on those numbers, if you have any. And I will correct the charts moving forward.
Okay. Any questions to Nick? Anyone in the commission? The hands up? Nope. All right, thank you, Nick. We will now move on from the director's report. Charlie, are we good there? Yes. Okay, we'll move to item number 3A, historic horse racing vendor request. Is that Nick or?
President Broussard, I'll take that one. Item 3A is a request received from AGS Software requesting to make available 2 new game themes and their associated math models in the state of Wyoming. The request was received on September 20th, 2023. Along with the request, we received the lab reports, photos, videos, the entire package. It was reviewed by staff, and staff didn't notice any red flags. It passed the 18-point checklist, and an independent lab has verified that it does function as they intend it to function. The 2 game themes, I'm going to do this just for you, are Hey Zohoi 2 and Zoo Nai Hey Yun. They operate on commission rates between 8 and 12%, and commission staff would recommend approval of these 2.
So they're from Sweden?
They just to clarify, because I skipped over it, they operate on the Exacta backend system, so.
Thank you. At this moment, we'll entertain a motion to approve the 2 new game themes.
I move that we approve the 2 game themes as read expertly by Nick.
Thank you.
I'll second. You didn't write it down on here.
Yeah. I think Dick seconded.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions regarding the game themes? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of approving the 2 new game themes from AGS Software, please state that by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed, say nay. Okay, that passes. We're going to move to item 4A, Chapter 7. This is rules, discussion of rules.
Thank you, President Broussard. Item 4A is the final adoption of Chapter 7. We've completed the public comment period. We had no comments received at all. And and this is basically, this is the companion to the emergency rule, which would extend out our abilities on background checks to be accepted beyond, out to 3 years on a potential license. Again, this passed the 45-day comment, and this would be your final adoption of that rule.
Thank you.
Would you like me to read the statement of reasons just for the record?
Sure.
Thank you. On October 21st, on October of 2021, the FBI notified the Division of Criminal Investigation that the Commission Wyoming parimutuel statutes did not meet the requirements of Public Law 92-544, and therefore the FBI would no longer conduct background checks on parimutuel license. In response, the Commission promulgated emergency rules giving the ability to renew licenses using background checks conducted within 3 years. The FBI has since granted us an additional grace period through July 1st of 24, allowing the legislature additional time to make the necessary statutory amendments. In respective to the grace period, the Commission determined this rule amendment beneficial to going forward to streamline the licensing process. This regular rule is identified to the recently promulgated emergency rules. Our authority to promulgate the rules can be found in Wyoming Statutes 1125-104E and pursuant to Wyoming Statutes 16.3.301A 1J. So we would need a motion to adopt the final adoption of Chapter 7 rules.
Thank you. This point, we'll entertain a motion to adopt the Chapter 7 rules. Thank you. Commissioner Bowl moved in a second. Do we have a second?
Second.
Roger, okay. Any discussion regarding that? You guys found it? Okay. All right, good. Any comments from the gallery or from the commission? No hands. Okay, we'll call the roll. All in favor, state that by saying aye.
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 If anyone's opposed, say nay. All right, that passes. Thank you, and we'll move to item 4B, which is a carryover back from yesterday, and that is the Gaming Commission rules, general parimutuel rules, item number 6D.
Thank you, President Broussard. The carryover, as you stated, is item 6D, general parimutuel rules. Specific to this, in your packet, we have Chapter 8, and at this point in time, I'm just going to briefly go over how this came forward to you. The rule in your packet is not ready for you at this point. We're still wordsmithing. I had hoped we could have it to a point to where you could make your approval, but we're not able to at this point. So on page 8.5 of the rule, Chapter 8, page 5, you'll see the language change. And what we're trying to attempt to do here is the American.
Charlie, hold up a second.
It's page 204 for those of
Yeah.
us looking at it.
If you have it on via the internet, it's 204 out of the 700.
It's your stack of paper, it should be the last group of paper.
Right.
And it should also be on it.
And again, commissioners, if you can't get to the specific rule, I can read it to you. We can go over it, but we're not ready for a motion or a second or a final on this at all at this point. Again, I'd hope to be able to, the American Quarter Horse Association, effective January 1st, will be discontinuing the physical tattooing in the lip of a horse for identification purposes. They will be going to a microchip. So our rules don't necessarily contemplate that. Now, they do contemplate microchipping in the digital tattooing of the thoroughbred horses, and we put that rule in several years ago. So we've got to make the changes. I do have, ARCI has a model rule that I'll be putting into the document and then working with Mr. Kaler so we can have that and be able to have that guidance for our stewards and for the individuals at the racetrack. Additionally, the claiming rule, and that is on
831.
Yes, thank you. We had a request last year and a concern from a constituent about removing the language on 831. The stewards reviewed this. They feel like that it's an appropriate change to make by deleting that language. This will allow for horses to be able to come back in different claiming prices. It is language that had been removed from the ARCI, Association of Racing Commissioners International, model rules quite some time ago. And the proposal is to remove that. Again, because this is submitted to you all in one packet, this is not prepared, not ready for you today, but I wanted to bring you up to speed on this. We'll have this ready for you at the next meeting. And then on 8-3, you'll see 8-33, excuse me, you'll see additional language. This language comes from the Association of Racing Commissioners International about what designates and what is a voided claim. So for some of you in the room, what is a claim? What is a claiming race? And I think it's important to maybe have a little context on it. It's an opportunity for horses to be placed in a race with like horses, let's say a $2,500 horse. There'll be other horses in there that you can purchase. Specific individuals can claim those horses. So it's trying to keep the horses in a grouping. And I know I'm not really explaining it real well this morning, but it's a way like, you have different groupings. You have maidens, you have non-winners of two in different things, and then you can add in the claiming race. That horse basically is for sale for that price. So a lot of jurisdictions, and as I said, the Association of Racing Commissioners International added this language. So a claim can be voided if a horse is a starter as determined by the stewards and the horse dies on the racetrack, suffers an injury which requires the euthanasia of the horse as determined by the commission veterinarian while the horse is on the racetrack. And then additionally, a claim is voidable at the discretion of the new owner for a period of 1 hour after the race is made official of any horse that is vanned off the racetrack at the discretion of the commission veterinarian or that is observed by the commission veterinarian to be lame or unsound while on the racetrack for that race. So it's up to you, commissioners, if you want to take any comments or discuss this further, if you want to wait till we've got this full document completed in a better form for you from the previous.
Well, if it's not ready, yeah, go ahead, Sandy.
So on page 8-9, thank you, Mr. President. On page 8-9, KK, toward the bottom of the page where the changes are made, it deletes the not. So I'm not clear. It says no horse shall be permitted to start whose name is and true ownership is registered with the racing secretary. Was that that not should still be in there, or it should not, or it should not still be in there?
Yes, good, and I apologize for not touching on that. That language will not be stricken and not be changed in the next version. I apologize for that.
Okay, thank you. Does we want to move on and come back to this next meeting? Okay. Oh, we have a hand up, Dan, Commissioner Schiffer.
President Broussard, just a quick question. Have the horsemen had any reaction to this proposed rule that you know of? Thank you.
Thank you.
President Broussard, Commissioner Schiffer, I haven't heard. We've had this posted, and we haven't heard from the horsemen. This was requested by a horseman and an owner also. And this was in a original request made by a John Feston. Had sent this in quite a few months or just before the race meet started this last year.
Thank you.
He is an owner in a.
Thanks, Charlie. So just a point that we'll probably be discussing this next meeting. So if you do, you've been forewarned.
Yep.
This is coming up. If you have comments or questions, please come to the next commission meeting or submit a comment. All right. Thank you. There's nothing else on B, general discussion, any carryover discussion. So we've completed yesterday now, and we're moving on to item number 5, parimutuel event applications. Alpha is Wyoming Horse Racing LLC, or the first one we're taking up.
So President Broussard, thank you. Item 5A, Wyoming Horse Racing LLC. I think at this point, Nick is going to basically present all 3 of these requests. The meetings are listed for the next year are here on the posters, the dates. Your packets have the race dates are posted. In your packet, you'll see the race dates also in there. A couple things as we're looking at this. If you look at your memo that was put out there, we need to be considering the health, safety, and welfare. There's several items in your packet, questions that are good to ask about the live event applications. How are we going to continue to address safety? Any capital improvements, expanding the program in the future, horsemen's involvement, horseman purses. We're also asked to use decisional criteria with the simulcasting applications to consider the general benefit to the state of Wyoming, the general benefit to the state of Wyoming horse racing industry, of course, permittees' integrity, permittees' credibility, and their financial stability. Again, as we're going through this, our first step, we will take each one of these applications. For instance, for the one that's first up here, we have A1. We would take the live event application first. We are unable to issue a simulcast application without first having a live event permitted. So we'd need to take each one of these individually, consider them all on their own merit. And again, I think as we're discussing this and going through this, the stewards had sent us concerns for the future, concerns that they had this summer from each one of the racetracks. Energy Downs, stewards and licensing office was not climate controlled. The jockey and paddock area had some security concerns, but nothing that stopped any of the programs, obviously. Barn area security, and then the testing area we're finding at Energy Downs is just too small for the volume of horses that we're dealing with now. Wyoming Downs had some similar concerns. The jockey and paddock area, again, seems to be a security issue for some of the stewards. They do have individuals at the gates, just the monitoring. We've got people flowing through there, but I think a lot of that was taken care of as the season went through. Barn area security. Sweetwater Downs, the office Steward's office, they had a concern with the privacy of that, but was taken care of midway through the meet. Jockey and paddock area concerns, barn area security concerns, photo finish concerns we had. There was some issues with some of the races and photos not quite working. I think that was addressed as well quickly. And then the storage stand there is a little bit small and problematic. We also, as we went through all this, Mr. Laramendi reviewed the Horseman's Agreement with all three of the operators and went through those. So at this point, I would turn it over to however you want to proceed. If you'd like the operators to individually come up, commissioners, and basically present an overview, and then Mr. Laramendi can go through his suggestions. It's up to you, folks.
Yeah, so the consensus is we'll have the operators come and say their piece, and the first one up is Wyoming horse racing.
We're gonna take that
Where I go, Eugene goes. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Pete Ligori from Wyoming Horse Racing.
The name is Riley, Doghouse Riley. No, Eugene Joyce.
We're here to respectfully request the renewal of our two permits, but before we address questions, that we did want to make a statement, if that's okay. When we first came into Wyoming, Charlie was pretty clear about, what the goal was for us, which is essentially to add value and create a benefit for the state of Wyoming. And what I thought I'd do this morning quickly was talk about what we've accomplished in 22 months since we purchased the company, but also talk about the next 3 years, because I think you may want to hear a little bit about that as well, because we're talking about a 3-year license renewal. So if that works, none of this is long, so it's good though, but I think it'd be good just to go through my notes. As I said, we've owned the company for roughly 22 months. And during that period, we have made some decisions in terms of staffing. We've added 20 new positions to the organization. A lot of that was just trying to add some specialty items. As an example, we added a surveillance officer. And that was done in conjunction with upgrading all of the surveillance equipment in the outlets so we could really monitor much better what was going on. We added a chief marketing officer. We added a number of support staff in the organization as well. So again, adding 20 new team members. We also made the decision that our wage base was not competitive. And over the last less than 2 years, we've increased wages across the board by about 15% for the staff. Want to make sure we're competitive. And I think, as you heard, the commission's having trouble finding an auditor. Labor market is very different today. So we've found ourselves having to increase staff to make sure we keep our team, who we're very, very proud of. We also upgraded our benefits that we offer our team members. And we also instituted a profit sharing program, top to bottom. Everyone gets a piece of the pie. So whether it's an hourly employee who's washing dishes, all the way up to our general manager, everybody participates and thinks like an owner. On the track side of the business, we made a commitment to Sweetwater Downs to invest a little over $1 million, about $1.2 million in terms of CapEx projects there over the next several years. And some of that's already started and some projects are already done. And we tend to split that into two pieces. One is the public-facing activity of the track, and the other is the horseman and horse activity. And obviously, as part of that's the track safety. But as an example, we had an independent engineering firm come through and do a study of the grandstands. We wanted to make sure they were safe. They hadn't been looked at in years. And, they were deemed to be okay, no problems, but we thought it was a good way to create a nice baseline as we go. I think you've heard some of our projects that we're planning to do there, but, we're building a brand-new race office on site. And due to some weather issues, we were really trying to get it finished this year, weren't able to, but the building's actually, the frame and some of the other roofing materials are actually on site. So subject to weather, our hope is we'll have that up and available next year. We made some changes to the track itself. And Eugene, you just want to hit on a couple of the highlights the last couple of years?
Sure. We've added or widened what's referred to as the clubhouse term for safety reasons, widened it by 10 feet. We added distance markers on the outside rail for all the quarter horse distances, so that the track crew and the stewards can verify that the gate is placed in the proper position. Other than that, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Okay, so we've added safety rail over the last couple of years, both interior and exterior. Pete mentioned the review of the grandstand. We have the finest test barn facility in Wyoming, per Dr. Erickson. So make sure that he's happy. Mentioned widen the clubhouse term. Fiber optic cable to the patrol camera towers, so we have high definition video for the stewards, and hopefully if we can send out our signal again, get it past HISA, that'll go out to the general public. Right now, we send that signal out to all of our OTBs, but we are not sending it out of state, unfortunately. And again, Pete mentioned we're building a new jockey quarters and new race office. So some big plans, and we think it's going to make it an ease of operation, not only for commission staff, but also our employees and for the horsemen.
Thank you, Eugene. And I just piggyback, we saw something interesting happen this year. We've been trying to figure out the right marketing combinations in terms of exposing people to live racing. We actually saw our live racing handle go up 25% this year. I mean, these aren't huge numbers, but the fact that we were able to move the needle was kind of encouraging. So we're going to continue to do more of those types of things and continue to pull the marketing levers. And our goal is to just make sure people know live racing is occurring, because a lot of times they don't even know events are happening, even in the town where we operate, which is kind of interesting. But it's all about the exposure. So we just want to make sure we continue to push that word out, and ultimately that translates into more attendance, which is obviously a good thing. And in terms of the existing businesses, over the last 22 months, we've invested roughly about $10 million in our existing facilities. And as I mentioned, some of the things, we've upgraded our surveillance system throughout the company. We've replaced the marketing system, so we have better information on our customers that come in the door. We've instituted a number of programs around anti-money laundering. We've kind of elevated that program. We've appointed 2 individuals as co-compliance officers in the company as part of the staffing discussion I was having earlier. Obviously, we've upgraded the equipment, replaced some of the older technology with new. So we're continuing to invest in our base business, if you will. As I think about the renewal and what's ahead.
Everybody always not our job.
Okay. As I think, that's okay. As I think about what's ahead in terms of the next couple of 18 months, 24 months, 3 years, you may recall that we had gotten approval for 2 very unique facilities that we were looking to build in Wyoming, what we call our touristic OTBs. And those are really unique in that they're not designed to attract customers from inside Wyoming, but actually outside. We're building 2 facilities, one in Evanston to attract the Utah market, and one the very south end of Cheyenne, right close to the border, to attract customers up from Colorado. Those projects are roughly going to cost about $45 million. We've spent about $13 million so far. In it, along with the construction, there's a terminology the economists used, induced and indirect benefit. When you do build a project like the size we're building, as an example, we will have roughly about 270 temporary construction jobs. Those workers need to stay somewhere. They need to eat somewhere. They need to fill up, their trucks with gas and so on and so forth. So the, estimated, I'll call it indirect benefit is about 12.7 million on top of the 45. So again, 2 different communities will be affected by that, obviously Evanston and Cheyenne. The construction jobs I mentioned, when the facilities are open the first full year and then annually after, we're expecting the tax base, we talked about tax-based benefit earlier, our contribution will increase by $4 million a year from those 2 facilities. We're going to hire about 225 team members between those 2 facilities. So we're significantly increasing our employee base. If George is still in the room, the Breeders' Fund will get a bump of about over $1 million a year going forward when those 2 facilities are open. And similar number for purses on top of what we're already contributing. We're also having a feature or 2 features that are Cheyenne property is a bit of a tip of the hat to the Joyce legacy of resurrecting horse racing in the state. So that'll be fun for everybody to see those things as we near the end of construction. Right now, our goal is to get the Cheyenne property weatherproof before Thanksgiving. We're well on our way to do that. The goal is then to shift to interior construction and just continue to work through the winter. And the target right now is to open at the somewhere we think in the beginning of the second quarter of next year. And Evanston is about 6 months to 8 months behind Cheyenne. And we're expecting to invest roughly $15 million in our existing facilities, the original 9, over the next 3 years as well. So we're not stopping, continue to modify and enhance and increase the value of those locations as well. I should mention that one of the things that we talked about when we first came before you was our Wyoming First philosophy. And that really captured 4 areas. One was that we want to hire Wyoming residents when we have open positions. We're doing that. The second thing was that we want to buy in Wyoming from vendors whenever we can. We're doing that, including the construction, to the extent that we can find capable vendors for the construction, we're using them. And, again, knock on wood, we've been able to find the majority of our work so far has been with Wyoming vendors. The third element is philanthropic, and that and I was thinking about how to portray that. And actually today is an interesting thing. Since we're in Casper, we made a contributory donation to a project here in Casper, the Wyoming Sports Ranch in town. We're really excited about that. It's 130,000 square foot indoor space for youth and young adults to have access to athletic activities. And it's a crazy facility, and they started construction in June. So we're proud to be part of the group of companies and people that have underwritten that project. That's the type of thing we're trying to do in all of the different communities we operate in. And obviously, you've got to wait for the right project, but the goal is to have something like that going on in every area. The fourth element of our Wyoming First initiative is to support the equine and agribusiness efforts that happen in the state beyond what we're doing through our OTBs. And, we actually created an endowment with the Laramie County Community College to help to be used in direct benefit for young adults that are interested in equine business and agribusiness. We're also exploring a few other opportunities with them as well. So I think there may be another announcement or two down the road. So that's just kind of the broader strokes in terms of our Wyoming first, but we really are committed to Wyoming. We are looking, this is a long-term investment, and we're excited to be here. So I know there's a lot of information in the packages. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And Eugene will handle anything on the track.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So if you guys just hold fast, Nick, do you want to go through the application? And then
President
if we
Broussard.
have questions, they'll be here
Yeah.
at hand. Thank you, Nick.
On September 27th, the commission received Wyoming Horse Racing's applications for both live racing and simulcasting. Right now, we're just doing the live racing. It is for calendar year 2024, 2025, and 2026. In your packet, you'll see the entire, it's a lot, like 200 pages. But the high level points or the points of consideration would be the race dates. For 2024, Wyoming Horse Racing is requesting the following dates: August 17th, 18th, 23rd, 24th, and 25th, the 30th and the 31st, September 1st, 6th, 7th, 8th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 21st, 22nd, 28th, and 29th, for a total of 18 live horse racing days. Those are also on the these boards here, so you can see them. Would it be helpful if that was moved maybe right in front of y'all so you could see it better? Okay.
It's on page 311.
For 2025, the dates requested are August 16th, 17th, the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, the 29th, 30th, and 31st, September 5th, 6th, and 7th, 12th, 13th, and 14th, the 21st, 22nd, 27th, and 28th for 18 days. For 2026, the dates would be August 15th, 16th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, 28th, 29th, and 30th, September 4th, 5th, and 6th, the 11th, 12th, and 13th, the 19th, 20th, 26th, and 27th for a total of 18 days. There's a note you'll see in your packet that says the 2016 days are subject to change. Or the 2026 dates, sorry. Subject to change. Wyoming Horse Racing confirms that they'll give us plenty of advance notice for those changes. They plan on offering mixed breed flat track racing with quarter horses, thoroughbreds, paints, and Appaloosas. Their application packet also showed their purse schedule and their wagering offerings that they will be providing, as long as the stake schedule. Included in your all's packet is the confidential financial statements for Wyoming Horse Racing, showing that they can continue to operate. They will use the same tote as they used last year. Gene Wilson and Associates for their photo finish, Encompass and EchoBase for their racing information. Let's see, the commission had also requested some additional information with their permit, which was a track safety, barn area, and grandstand safety plan. Any updates that they had planned to track surfaces or anticipated dates of implementation, a list of their inventory for track maintenance, any capital improvements, any proposed expenditures for improvements, a copy of their jockey insurance policy, and then track maintenance plans, as well as the horseman's agreement. Wyoming Horse Racing did provide all of that additional requested information. The horseman's agreement, they are currently in negotiations with WABRA, and WABRA has confirmed that they are in active negotiations with Wyoming Horse Racing for their horseman's agreement. Upon reviewing their application for live racing for 2024, 2025, and 2026, the staff would recommend approval of their live racing permit application as submitted. And with that, we need to note that the complete list of officials for the 2024 live racing season needs to be received by the commission no later than June 17th of 2024.
Thank you, Nick. Got that? Is that a problem? Okay, so at this moment, we'll entertain a motion to approve the live, just the live at the moment.
That is correct. And I'm President Broussard, I'm sorry, I also forgot that in the packet there, they do have Sweetwater County approval to
Okay,
operate
from the
live events
from
in
the
Sweetwater County.
So we're just addressing item 5A, number 1, live event application.
Mr. President, I would move to approve Wyoming Horse Racing LLC's live race applications for 2023, 2024, 25, and 26.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Roger. Okay, now we'll open it up for discussion. Any questions for the folks in front of us or Nick regarding this application? No. We have a hand. Commissioner Schiffer.
President Broussard, I just have a question. As a 3-year application, and not saying anything in any way, but if things don't go well next year, do we have an opportunity to review the, say, 2025 grant and make changes to that in any way? Is that within our purview? Thank you.
Thank you.
President Broussard, I know, I think it was last year, or the year before last, we had done kind of like a feasibility re-review with one of the operators that was permitted out, just to verify that, you know, the race dates are still good, the financials are still good, the purse schedule and structure was still good. I think if it was maybe built into the motion to approve 2024 and then 2025 and 26 conditionally upon re-review without resubmission, I think that would work.
Okay. Did that answer your question, Commissioner Schiffer?
Thank you. Yes, that does. I would request that the motion be amended to include those limiting terms.
Is that okay with you, Cactus?
So is that normal procedure?
So I think at any time, the commission can re-review an applicant if there's cause. If there's some drama, we can bring it back up.
President Broussard, addressing Vice President Cavello and Commissioner Schiffer's questions is, you know, amending the motion is up to you. It's not something that we have necessarily done in the past. But each year, as we have grown, you know, we continue to come back in and do a review in front of the commission at permitting time. Last year we did it. I believe the year before we did that, and we go through this. You can amend the motion to have that on the record, that we will review that. But also, I think we have that ability.
So amending the motion would just be redundant because that's already implied in our process.
I mean, I think we do have that ability.
Okay. Dan, are you okay with carrying on without amending the motion?
Well, of course, it's up to the majority of the commission, but, you know, I don't think it's a bad idea to have it on record so that, you know, should an eventuality occur, we are crystal clear on our powers to look at these things. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess Dan's concern is if we have no recourse, we do have recourse. If there is a problem in the next year, to have the operator come before the commission and explain, and we can make changes.
I think that, you know, it's up to the the individual that made the motion. But I think we could amend it just to say that with a yearly review.
Okay.
Would be as simple as something like that, if that was considered a friendly motion and up to the body. But it's whatever you folks would like to do.
Again, I'll pose the question, is this something that's been done in the past?
The answer is no.
My motion's going to stand.
Okay. Who seconded?
I did, and my second stands. I think I would have undone it had we changed.
Okay. All right. It's been moved and seconded. Any other comments or questions or concerns?
Your Honor.
Yep. Commissioner Bowe?
I just wanted to tell you, gentlemen, that I really appreciated Wyoming Racing's willingness to address safety concerns on the run, no pun intended. And then the other thing is, when I was listening to your presentation, I couldn't help but be struck about how much energy and investment and love you have in your track. And I just think that bodes well.
Pride as well. A lot of pride.
And I think that's maybe true for all the operators. We'll find out, but listening to you, this is your baby. And that bodes well for you and for the state. So obviously, I'm voting for this motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Bowe. Anything else from the commission? Any comments on Zoom? Any comments from the gallery? Unless you're behind the calendar, I'm going to assume there's none. All right, so we'll call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hang on just a sec. So are we, yeah, we're going to do the Alpha #2 simulcast? Or did we just do it?
President Broussard, the next item would be Wyoming Horse Racing's application for simulcast.
Thank you.
The simulcast application is for their currently 11 permitted locations throughout the state for the calendar years of 2024, 2025, and 2026. They are requesting to be operational in the current 11 licensed locations, 363 days a year, with the exception of Thanksgiving Day being closed and Christmas Day being closed. They estimate $1.5 million roughly on live simulcast handle through those locations, and around $300 million in simulcast handle. The application shows that they will continue to use the existing approved backend systems and vendors that have already been approved by the commission. In reviewing the application, they had submitted, resubmitted all of the floor plans and county resolutions to support those 11 locations. It has been reviewed. Staff has not noticed any red flags and would recommend approval of their simulcast permit applications as submitted for 2024, 2025, and 2026.
Thank you. And this is just simulcast, correct? All right, do I have a motion to approve Wyoming Horse Racing simulcast?
I move that we approve Wyoming Horse Racing simulcast application as read by Nick.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowe. Any comments from the commission before we vote? Any questions from outside?
President Broussard, just so everybody's clear, the simulcasting includes HHR.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
kind of one and the same. It's the live simulcasting and HHR operations.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for clarifying. Any questions now? 3 years. All right. No questions or concern. We'll call the vote. All in favor of approving Wyoming Horse Racing simulcast and HHR racing application for 24-26, state that by saying aye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
President,
Thank you.
Commissioners. Thank you, Commissioners.
So next up will be Wyoming Downs, item number 5, Bravo. Again, we'll start with the live event application for 24. Oh, you want to vape? Sorry, Frank, hang on. I think I'm hearing break time. I'm hearing break in my earpiece. We'll give a 7.4 minute break, starting now. Go.
Get there that Thursday afternoon.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item number 5B. So if you guys want to get in place, Wyoming horse racing. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order again. And we will start. We'll give them another minute, another 3 seconds. All righty. Sure.
Just quickly, a roll call. President Broussard.
Here.
Thank you. Vice President Cavello. Here. Commissioner Torgerson.
Here.
Commissioner Bowl. Here. Commissioner Schiffer.
Here.
Commissioner Rithaller.
Here.
Commissioner Kura.
Here.
Commissioner Francisco.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Wildcat. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a quorum still.
All right, so Wyoming Downs, if you guys want to take over, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Frank Lamb, Wyoming Downs. Mr. President, members of the commission, we do not have a presentation to make this morning, but please don't take that to mean that we are not totally committed to racing in Wyoming. As the only privately owned racetrack in Wyoming, we take our role very seriously. And I can assure you that we have and will do everything in our power to make horse racing in Wyoming the best that it can be. And not only for Wyoming, but the best that it can be for the western part of the United States, which is quickly becoming just that. And we're very proud of that. With that, basically, we're just standing for questions.
Thank you, Frank. Nothing?
Can't get a word in.
Shocking, shocking, Eric. Okay, Nick, you want to take over?
President Broussard, the next item on the agenda is Wyoming Downs live event application. The commission received Wyoming Downs' live event application for 2024 on September 25th of 2023. In reviewing the live event application, there was a couple of things that I'd like to note out. The purse contributions for the 2024 season is estimated at $1.8 million, which is a $200,000 increase than this last year that we had just run. The dates requested for Wyoming Downs is June 8th and 9th, the 15th and 16th, the 22nd and 23rd, the 29th and 30th, July 6th and 7th, 13th and 14th, 20 and 21st, 27th and 28th, August 3rd and 4th, and 10th and 11th, for a total of 20 live race dates. In their, let me get to it, right? They plan to use all the existing vendors that they've used in previous years, Gene Wilson and Associates for their photo finish, and Equibase. The management group and financials are included in your all's packet. And I think for their live event permit, the commission staff would recommend approval as received or as presented.
Thank you. Cactus?
Yes, what would be the date that would be required for a list of judges and stewards, et cetera?
Management.
April, it'd be April 8th.
Thank you.
Is that a problem? Is that a problem? You want to make it April 9th? Okay. At this moment, we'll entertain a motion to approve the Wyoming Downs live event application permit just for 24.
Mr. President, I so move.
Thank you, Dick. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, we'll open it for discussion. Any comments or questions? Comments or questions from the gallery? Nope. Dan, you have a question, a comment?
Yes, President Broussard, thank you. Somewhere, and I'm not sure what page it was on, but there was a breakdown of the purse fund to the horsemen. It included purses and number one, purses, number two, a sponsorship fund to races in Utah, and thirdly, a maintenance fund. And I was wondering if Wyoming Downs could explain what's the purpose of the second two categories. Thank you.
Go ahead, Eric.
President, Commissioners, we've been very fortunate to work with the horsemen at Wyoming Downs, and just a little history is every owner has one vote and a trainer has one vote. So that makes up our facilities of management of the horsemen. So we've come to an agreement because we found it very important, several areas. One, they felt that it was necessary to promote as much as they can from Salt Lake and that valley there. And we agree. We spend a tremendous amount of money, about $50,000 plus, and then we actually do sponsor the races in Salt Lake and Provo and those areas there for the horsemen, of which it's turned out to be a good thing for us because they'll draw up to 2,000 people on any given day on a weekend there, and 95% of those come from the Salt Lake Valley. So that takes care of the sponsorship part of it. That is one of the conditions the horsemen requested, and we respect that part of it. The other portion of it is it's very important to maintain a facility. Now, since we own the facilities, there's a lot more cost that actually goes into it. Several years ago, and even last year, we were putting in 40 RV pads for customers. And actually, some of those, they filled up on the weekends there, and which proved to be very important. So the horsemen, they don't just want to race, nor do we. We want to put on a show. We want to put a show on for the clients there, and it's important that we keep within a budget that is beneficial for us and them to share in some areas that we do improvements at the facility. And so they'll give us areas that they would like to improve. Sometimes it's on the water area or RV area, but paint areas and different things that they may want. They want a horseman's cafe area, so we serve breakfast out there. So there's additional expenses that we could possibly shave and not do, but it would put on the good show. And so this horseman's agreement is in force with the horsemen and the owners there. They're very happy with it. We've got a very good relationship with them, and that's pretty much the reasons and how we take that and the formula of how we put it together.
Thank you, Eric. Dan, did that satisfy your question?
Can I ask a couple more questions, President Broussard?
Of course.
If Mr. Davis, excuse me, you said that the owners and the trainers each have one vote. Is that what I understood?
That is correct.
And of what, can you give us a ballpark estimate of what percentage or number of the licensed owners and trainers who run at Wyoming Downs who actually do vote on this purse agreement?
You know, I cannot on that with any accuracy because they're independent. They're an independent agency. We treat them that, and we respect that, and we don't get into their business too much beyond, just making sure we have a signed contract with them.
Okay, and the second question was, when you do maintenance with the purse money, how do you log that in for an accounting purpose as far as your company goes? So do you take that as a capital expense in your accounting? Thank you.
President Bouchard, if I could answer the question at hand. The actual purse account, what we have is what they call a track fund. The track fund is made up of a formula with three different areas. One is the sponsorship, two is the repairs of the facilities that they would like to do, and we mutually agree with that. And then the third is the purse portion of the track fund. That fund is the funds that are regulated by the Gaming Commission, in essence, and the horsemen on that side. We show them the improvements that we do in the facility, and that's pretty much what they've requested. They do have a time period to go over the books and records to see what they like and what they don't like, and we've been in communication with them, and we've never been missing a step over the last 3-4 years.
Thank you. Any more questions, Dan? Dan, are you still there?
Yeah, no, well, I'm trying to, thank you, President Broussard. I'm just trying to digest what I was just told, which I don't think didn't answer my question, but is there any way we could ever meet these horsemen and find out what they're thinking? I mean, I've been promised that I was going to receive communications to get a hold of them, and I've never received that whatsoever. And I think it would be helpful to our understanding of the operations to have an opportunity to discuss with the horsemen what I consider as a kind of an odd purse arrangement here. And would that be possible at some point to have some human being representing this group?
Mr. President, the answer is no. No, just so, well, they are independent, and I can't force them to come to the meetings. If they're satisfied, that's the number one area there. And we do have a horseman's agreement. So the agreement is in place, it's valid. So the commission would like to interview these individuals, that's fine. Do we want to negotiate with you and the horsemen? Well, that's a little more difficult. But you're welcome to call them. They're in the phone book, that's for sure. They don't call me back either, just so you know.
Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
Mr. President, Commissioner Schiffer, I might add to that. The principals in the Horsemen's group right now, every one of them is off somewhere racing. They don't take time off. These guys are professionals, as you know, and they have to go somewhere to make a living. So, but I could certainly contact them and see if they could be on a Zoom meeting at the next meeting, if that would work for you. And that would not be a problem, I don't think. But as Mr. Nelson said, they sometimes don't return to calls, but they're busy guys. So we could sure try to facilitate that and help arrange that.
Thank you. Brandy, you have a comment?
Yeah, thank you, President Broussard. Just so you know, our state statute states that a horsemen's association, which we're talking about, means the association that represents the majority of the owners and trainers licensed by the commission to race horses at an event. Licensed is the key word, and we should be able to follow all of these horsemen's group and know, have a board of directors and their members. And that's why we will be bringing to you in future meetings to go over what a horseman association means and kind of add some more to that, and what we expect of them. So be watching for that, but just so you know, that the Horsemen's Association, I understand that it's privately, but they should be able to, be able to present a list and know and have us verify that they are licensed, because we're the only ones that can verify that they're licensed to be signing these contracts and negotiation with them in good faith. And the in good faith has been a problem for years, to prove what good faith means. But, what we're looking for is, and it's not off the subject, but on horsemen's associations, are they registered with the Secretary of State? Only licensed owners and trainers by the commission should be able to participate in this group. Because it is a horsemen's group for purses at the track. It's not Breeders' Awards Fund. It's actual horsemen that are, providing the purses that they're going to run for. Is there election of officers? Ballots should be counted by a representative. Other states I've worked in, the racetrack has somebody there, the horseman group has a representative, and the commission has a representative there to conduct results and do the ballots. Do they have bylaws filed with the commission? You know, are there directors? They need to be currently licensed with us as directors. And then to go one step further, the best way for us is to have horsemen's associations be licensed with the Wyoming Gaming Commission. Not just saying they're one, but go through a licensing. So that's something we need to look at, but I did want to let you know what the state statute stands for now. And it's that the association that represents the majority of the owners and trainers licensed by the commission.
So that.
Thank you.
I have just a clarification. So you say the majority of the owners and trainers licensed by the commission?
Yeah, that's who's eligible to make up a horsemen's association. It's the majority of owners and trainers licensed by the commission to race horses at that event. So it stands correct. You know, Wyoming Downs does have a lot of Utah. The majority, they come there. So of course you're going to have them. It's a different set of horsemen that might run at 307s. You have more South Dakota, Nebraska horsemen, Wyoming, and some Utah. So the way it stands now, it's as an event. So the event would be Wyoming Downs Racing. They could have their own group. Wabra happens to be 307s, and right now with Wyoming Horse Racing. So they have every right to have their own group. I'm not saying that, but we should be able to know who they are and who represents them because they should be licensed with us. So.
It's not mandatory that the representative of their horsemen's group be licensed, but that's.
No, that's something
possibility.
that the staff is going to suggest, and we've been working on that.
We don't know who that person is. We don't know if they're licensed. We don't know who their representative is.
I think that's what Schiffer, Commissioner Schiffer was getting at.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
President Bouchard, if I could. And that's an interesting point because it'd be nice for the horsemen to be more involved in all of their facilities. But it's important to note that the horsemen organizations are different in all three facilities. So you should have three different horsemen's organizations because they make up the owners and trainers who race at that facility. And so the facility, of course, in Evanston is made up of a lot of people that, you know, race in Wyoming, but also race in Utah and Idaho. But it's very important for the commission to realize that there's three different organizations, and our organization, they don't communicate a lot, but we're there at the racetrack there. We communicate a lot with them. And they are licensed there, so we know they're very active in the horse racing part of it. But we let them be independent. I think it's very important that we don't try to influence these horseman organizations. The commission can regulate them, that's fine with us. But for us to regulate them, I don't think that's appropriate.
Fair enough, Eric, but who do you talk to when you get the letter?
That's a secret.
Yeah.
No. Chris Mitchell is the president of the commission.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Sandy.
So for the commission, if you look on page 480 of our packet, that's the horseman's agreement.
Okay, so any further discussion regarding this application? Dan, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you, President Broussard. Mr. Davis, is Chris Mitchell employed by Wyoming Downs?
Mr. President Broussard, Frank Lamb, I was going to answer the question. I think it was directed to Eric, but Chris is a trainer and owner, and he is not employed by Wyoming Downs.
Thank you. Dan, you have further questions?
No more questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other comments? Anyone from the Horsemen's Group? No? Go ahead, Commissioner Bull.
Of course, I'm from Evanston, and we love Wyoming Downs. And if I were to vote against this motion, I would have to get in my pickup and head to Montana. And I think you guys run a first-class operation. The only complaint I heard all season was on one racing date, the women's restroom, one of the women's restroom was closed down. Don't do that again. I heard about that. And so keep those restrooms up and running. But I'm going to vote for this motion. And like I said, the community thoroughly enjoys having this aspect added to our economy. That's it, Mr. President.
Commissioner Bull. Further comments? Don't see any. Okay, we'll call the vote. All in favor of approving the application for Wyoming Downs live event application, state that by saying aye.
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 If anyone's opposed, say nay. All right, that passes. Thank you. All right, hold fast. Go ahead, Nick. Simulcast.
President Broussard, the next item on the agenda is Wyoming Downs simulcast application, which includes the HHR operations for calendar year 2024. The application was received on September 25th, 2023. In reviewing this application, if you're looking at the same digital packet that I'm looking at, on page 463, where it lists out item 10, which is the types of data processing equipment. There was one kind of noted area of concern for the staff here. It says the types of data processing and communication equipment was by standard tote terminal and or IDABET ADW. At this time, IDABET is not licensed or a simulcast provider. It's a advanced deposit wagering provider. And I had spoken to counsel with Wyoming Downs and recommended that we scratch the and or language and put and. There's nothing in the rules that says that they can't use the standard tote terminal and promote the ADW platform IDABET, but the and or language causes some concern because we don't want to see it move away from a licensed simulcast provider to something that's not currently licensed as a simulcast provider. We have received an application or a request from Wyoming Downs for the commission to review and approve IDABET as a simulcast provider. And we're still kind of working with the AG's office on some legal nuances on if a ADW can be a simulcast provider. Wyoming state statute kind of defines them as two separate things and how that kind of looks. I mean, state statute, without looking it up, it says that, simulcasting can only be conducted on a permitted premises. But when you start moving to the realm of an ADW platform, you can walk out the door and I can go to my couch and I can do it there. So is it simulcasting? Is it ADW? We're trying to work on that. And I know that Wyoming Downs through IDABET is working on some like geofencing technology, kind of like sports wagering has. So we're still working through that. But back to their application, they are applying for the current 22 OTBs that they have operational and or approved in the state of Wyoming. They are estimating about $880 million in total HHR handle throughout the state. For the HHR side of it, and 2.4 million for simulcast through those 22 locations. With the exception of what I had just noted for the tote IDABET stuff, the staff would recommend approval with that and or language being, the or being dropped and it being an and.
Thank you. You guys have comments about that? Concerns?
President Broussard, just to clarify, I do appreciate Mr. Laramindy's working with us to try to present at a later date to the commission. One of the things that is provided in that geofencing technology is you can see actually when a bet is placed brick and mortar and when it's placed not brick and mortar, which I think is an important distinction. And so working with Mr. Laramindy to get a site open so we can see some of those numbers so that commission can feel more comfortable, including the Attorney General. But we do appreciate the commission staff working with us on that issue.
Thank you. All right, any other comments regarding Nick's presentation or information? All right, if not, we'll call the vote. All in favor of approving Wyoming Downs simulcast ADW and historic horse racing application for 24-26, state that by saying aye.
Aye.
President,
We didn't have a motion.
Oh, sorry, I'm ahead of it again. Well, let's start then.
President Broussard, and it's just, theirs is just for 2024.
Agenda it has 20.
Simulcasting is for 24 to 26.
Okay.
The application's only for 2024. That might have been an oversight by the people that were to review this.
You agree
Well,
with
thank you.
that?
So let's,
You agree?
That would have been me.
all right.
President
Thank you.
Broussard, if
Well, okay, let's back up. So at this moment, we'll entertain a motion to approve Wyoming Downs simulcast ADW and historic horse racing application.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the Wyoming Downs simulcast application with the stipulation that that language is changed to and rather than and/or.
And only for 20?
And only for 2024.
Thank you. Do I have, Dick has seconded it? Any comments or questions now? Okay, if not, we'll call the vote. All in favor of the approving the application, state that by saying aye.
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 If anyone's opposed, say nay. Thank you. All right, Wyoming Downs, you are free to go.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No worries. No one needs a break. We'll move on.
We do have lunch here. It's up to you. It's whatever you want to roll.
I think we should roll. Who's against me? Doesn't matter. All right, so we'll carry on to 307 and get,
Finish this out. And we'll leave.
step up, boys, young man. So you have the floor if you'd like to make any statements. If not, we'll go straight to Nick.
President Broussard, Commissioners, Jack Greer, 307 Horse Racing. This would be the second time I'm in front of the commission since originally coming before you in 2020 for a 3-year application. I hope we have not disappointed. We care deeply about horse racing in Wyoming, providing a premier entertainment product in these OTB facilities, and I hope we've shown that. Obviously was not prepared for a presentation today, but we did jot down a couple things, and I'm sure Kyle will pick up a few things that maybe I forgot. We did open our 9th facility last week in Rock Springs. And prior to that, in the month of September, we're doing just over $700,000 a month in taxes, basically, Breeders' Fund, LSRA. So it's a large business that's been stood up in a short amount of time. We're very proud of that. It pushed us over to 260 full-time employees that are fully benefited after opening Rock Springs. These are premier entertainment facilities. We try to provide premier games, premier service. They're clean, they're nice, and we do try to have state-of-the-art products and as well as security and safety precautions. A couple of the records that we've had since we've been in business here with you all is we did run the first Wyoming bred race worth over $100,000. That was in 2022. Proud of that. We've ran the most races in a single day in Wyoming history. That was this year, thanks to our wonderful rain. But it was a cool day of racing. We ran 20 races in a day. That was a big deal. We also, because of some cancellations, distributed the most purse money in a single day in Wyoming history. Our last day of racing is just over $340,000 in a single day. Since our first year, and actually occurring our first year, we've done some substantial improvements and investments to the facility in Gillette, the Camplex. We completely redid the surface and the rail when we showed up there. Took it all out, regraded everything, brand new rail, brand new surface. We widened the track for safety of the horses there. We've invested probably just under $500,000 into the facility so far, and we'll continue to make investments as needed for the safety of the track. Personally, I care a lot about horse racing in particular. That's the one reason we're here. My mom was a jockey and dad was an owner trainer, and generations go back. I'm 5th generation horse racing people. So I take a lot of pride in providing a product that is safe, but also attractive. As Brandy had mentioned, we're really getting some interest from outside of Wyoming, and a lot of positive interest. I'm hearing more about trainers and owners wanting to move here because of the racing in Wyoming. So I think it's really incredible what Wyoming's done for racing and the attraction we have really throughout the nation at this point. We've also added some female jock accommodations, which were difficult before. And I'll say that in that, the Camplex is actually going through a pretty substantial master planning process right now. The last number that I was told was just over a $250 million upgrade to the entire facility there, which would include a pretty substantial upgrade to the racing facilities. New barn area, new barn stalls, new jock's house, new offices. Very large upgrade. So it's exciting what the Camplex is doing up there. And it'll be interesting to see where that goes with the public up there. I know it will go out for vote. One more thing I'd like to highlight is we did execute a horseman's agreement with Wabra. We do have a representative here in the room if you'd like to speak to them about their thoughts on our race meet or what we're doing moving forward. But the main highlight I would like to highlight is we have committed to a 0.4% of total handle contributed to the purse money alone at the races. It's a substantial number. It's going to be substantial next year, knowing that 2023 is really our first calendar year of having, 8 facilities in operation. So it's going to be a large jump in purse money next year, but we're confident in that. That's where we need to be. The 0.4 is mirroring the Breeders' Fund amount that we contribute. So we think that's very fair, and it's going to really lead to some very high purses. You'll see in the stake schedule that we submitted that I would also like to note, and we've discussed this in prior meetings, but we're really trying to allocate funds evenly across the board in terms of futurity, derby, and maturity horses, which is really important to, I think, the industry as a whole right now. We've promised to equal the futurity added money with the derby and the maturity added money. And they're large numbers. You guys have that stake schedule in front of you, but we're proud to be committed to contributing even money to all aged horses. Really with that, I'll probably turn it over to Kyle and we'll stand with any questions, but appreciate the last 3 years. It's been fun and look forward to some more.
Real quick, what, you said you're changing to 0.4. What were you at in 2023?
Well, worth noting, we've had a horseman's agreement that was 0.3% of handle for 21 and 22, and then it jumped to 0.32% for 2023.
So that's a significant.
It's a significant jump. And another point I would like to make is if you ran that number based on 2022 handle for 307 horse racing and did the 0.32 percentage we were supposed to contribute per our horseman's agreement, it was actually about $480,000 in purse money is all we were required to contribute. And we contributed just under $1 million, right at $975,000. So we doubled the horseman's agreement required amount. And we've done that all 3 years in substantial amounts.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. It's not mandatory to make a presentation, but if you have something to say, Kyle, if not, we'll move on.
The only thing that I'll highlight that I think is important to talk about Jack and the team's commitment at the race meet is with the rainouts that we had. We did have to cancel some days, but Jack and the team worked very hard to rerun those races. And even on one of those days where we couldn't rewrite the races, we made the decision to distribute the purse money evenly to all the horsemen that were supposed to run that day. That's not something that we were legally obligated to do, but that was something that we felt was right by the horsemen to make sure that, they at least got the opportunity for all the work to have the horses there for the meet. So if there's anything that shows this organization's commitment to live racing and to the industry and to what this is about, that's Exhibit A, in my opinion.
Thank you. Okay, so if you're ready, Nick, we'll start.
President Broussard, we are on the next item agenda, which is Wyoming Horse Racing's live event permit for 2024 2024, 2025, and 2026. Before I go over this one, I just want to make a point of clarification, maybe for Commissioner Schiffer. With the last 3-year permit, Wyoming State Statute 1125 201F states that the commission may issue, amend, or refuse to issue permits in its discretion. So as we go through these as a 3-year permit, if something came up mid-year of 2024 that required commission action, state law does allow the commission to amend those permits or even revoke that permit, barring the circumstances. I just wanted to make sure that that kind of went over me the last time.
Thank you.
With that being said, 307's application for live event permit for 2024, 2025, and 2026. For the calendar year 2024, 307 is requesting the following dates: May 25th, 26th, and 27th, June 1st and 2nd, the 8th and 9th, the 14th, 15th, and 16th, the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, the 28th, 29th, and 30th, for a total of 16 days. For 2025, it's May 24th, 25th, and 26th, May 31st, June 1st, the 7th and 8th, June 13th, 14th, and 15th, June 20th, 21st, and 22nd, the 27th, the 28th, and the 29th for 16 days. For 2026, May 23rd, 24th, and 25th, the 30th and 31st, June 6th and 7th, 12th, 13th, and 14th, the 19th, 20th, and 21st, the 26th, 27th, and 28th for 16 days. 307 Horse Racing will offer mixed breed flat track racing, including quarter horses, thoroughbreds, paints, and Appaloosas. In your packet is the purse schedule and the wagerings that they would be offering, as well as their financial statements showing that they are able to continue running for the next 3 years. The data processing equipment would be the same as last year, including United Tote, Moonshine Racing, I believe is the name of the photo finisher, and the timers. They do have Campbell County approval to run a live meet in Campbell County at the Camplex. And commission staff, and they also, yes, have a executed horseman's agreement with Wabra. Commission staff would recommend approval of their live race permit application for 24, 25, and 26.
Thank you. Cactus, you had a comment?
No, I was just going to make a motion that we approve their live permit application for 24, 25, and 26.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Roger, thank you. Open for comments or questions to 307 or to Nick? Anybody back there? Nothing from Dan? Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Bowe.
I got to know you guys a little bit last night, and that was enjoyable. I appreciated your love for the sport, and all I can tell you is I think Gillette and the northern area up there has tremendous potential for increasing, horse racing and horse racing activity. And you guys are in a unique position to take advantage of that. So good luck with it. I think you've got the love for the sport, and I'm going to vote for this motion.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any more comments or questions? Seeing or hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of approving 307 Horse Racing's live event application for 24-26, state that by saying aye.
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 If anyone's opposed, say nay. All right, that passes. And we'll now move on to simulcast and HHR.
President Broussard, the next item agenda is 307's simulcast and historic horse racing application for the calendar years of 2024, 25, and 26. Included in your packet, 307 Horse Racing actually submitted every one of their currently operating OTBs as a additional or as a packet all in and of itself, which comes in kind of handy sometimes. But they are requesting to operate their 10 existing OTBs with for 365 days. The way their applications read, that does have a tendency to change from time to time. Usually with that, they'll just notify us that they'll request to be closed if the levels aren't going to be there for Christmas Day, and we can do that at a staff level. They plan to use the already approved back-end systems that they're currently operating. In reviewing their applications and all of their county approvals and floor plans, the commission didn't note any areas of concern with any of the 10, and the staff would recommend approval of their simulcast and HHR permit applications for 2024, 25, and 26.
Thank you, Nick. Do we have a motion?
The approval simulcast for 307 horse racing for 2024 through 2026, Nick, or was that correct?
That is correct.
Make that motion, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Roger. We have a first and we have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments or questions before we move on? Not seeing any, we'll call the vote. All in favor of approving 307 horse racing simulcast HHR application, state that by saying aye.
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 Anyone's opposed, say nay. You didn't vote, okay. All right, that passes. Moving, do we need a?
Thank you, commissioners.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So do we? And I'm agreeing with him. I got some head shaking. We'll carry on. Item number 6, Wyoming Horse Racing LLC, discussion consideration for the possible Ainsworth software updates. Is that Nick?
Nick has to read those.
Okay.
It's required. He has to read the whole thing.
Nick, we'd like all the names of the game themes, please.
You're off.
President Broussard, I'm scrolling there. Give me 1 second here.
Nick, do you need a lozenge so your throat is good and clear?
I'm sorry?
Do you need a lozenge so you have good throat?
I'm good.
We need someone from China to come and read them for you.
Here.
Bing Chong.
Thank you. Okay, I'm almost there. All right, President Broussard, the next item on the agenda is a request from Wyoming Horse Racing for 2 new game themes developed by Ainsworth Technologies. The game themes are Super Volcano 7s and Mustang.
Oh, that's easy.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Thank you, baby Jesus.
Yeah.
On 9/26/2023, the commission received the request. Along with the request was the photos, videos of gameplay, and lab reports issued by BMM Testing Labs. Both themes operate on a commission rate between 4.75% and 10.75%. Upon review of the request and the supplement or the attached documentation, we confirmed that it was compliant with the 18-point checklist, and the lab has also certified that it approves as the way that it approves as it was presented. And the commission staff would recommend approval of these 2 themes and their associated math models.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the Ainsworth software for Wyoming horse racing?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Did you get that? Okay, any questions, concerns, comments from the commission or the gallery? Not seeing or hearing any, we will call the vote. All in favor of approving the Ainsworth software for Wyoming horse racing, state that by saying aye.
Aye.
If you oppose it, say nay. That passes. Thank you very much. Almost down now. So we'll move to item number 7, 307 horse racing application for Incredible Tech software update.
President Broussard, item number 7A is a request received from 307 Horse Racing, requesting the approval of 2 game themes and their associated math models developed by Incredible Technologies. These 2 themes operate on the Exacta backend system. They are Crazy Money Deluxe and Dinero Loco Deluxe. Both operate on a commission rate of 5.75 to 9.75%. Included with the submission was the lab reports, photos, and videos. We've reviewed the lab reports, the photos, videos. It checks the 18-point checklist, and an independent lab has verified that they operate as expected. And the commission staff would recommend approval of these 2 themes and their associated math models.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, so at this moment, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second? Thank you, Dick. All right, open it up for discussion. Anybody have concerns or questions regarding item number 7? If not, we'll call the vote. All in favor of approving 307's application for updating Incredible Tech software, note that by saying aye.
Aye.
If anyone's opposed, say nay. Motion passes. And we are, is there a need, Commission or Mike, to go in executive session? So we'll go, so at this point, do we have a guess at our next meeting? Is that January-ish?
We've already talked about, we'll be setting up some meeting dates here real quick for the future, potentially a December, but for sure a January date.
Thank you. So to be determined.
Yes, to be determined. And then while I still have a captive audience with my legislative liaisons, I did receive just momentarily an email from the FBI, and what would be your availability next week? He is available all day Tuesday, and then on Thursday from 9 to 11.
All right.
Thursday? Okay, Thursday. Okay.
Okay. Hang on. Before we break up, Commissioner Torgerson would like to say something before we break up. Are you finished?
I'm
Roger?
finished with that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Roger, you have the floor.
When Wyoming Horse Racing was up, they made a mention that they had like a 25% increase in the actual live attendance of the racing. Is that what I understood? Okay. So I've been struck during talking to people that don't know that we have live horse racing in Wyoming. I think it's something that we can look at on the commission and maybe working with the Wyoming tourism bunch and then also with you guys to get that word out better. I mean, within the horse community, it's pretty well known. Outside of that, a lot of people don't know about it. And I think as a whole group, we could do way better at that. And I think I would be more than happy to be a part of that.
Thank you. I know myself and Sandy are.
Commissioner Bizard and
Yeah.
commissioners, I think that's a great point. I was struck by how little people knew about horse racing in Rock Springs. And this year we had television advertising, which helped. So to get the word out in a broad sense, I think would be significant, throughout the state. And anything we can do to participate with tourism offices around the state, we'll be happy to do that. So, but that's a good point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy, would you like to make a comment? I know that's yours.
I would, and I would encourage all of, everyone to get with their local lodging tax boards. I know that each of your counties that you operate in have a local lodging tax, and that would be a really good place. I know in my county, which does not allow parimutuel racing, and we have a grant situation, and I believe that others do as well. And I would certainly explore that in Sweetwater County, in Uinta County, and in Campbell County, to go to your local lodging tax board and say, this is a big economic driver, and it brings people in from out of the state. I know when we went to the Travel, Recreation, Wildlife Committee, met in Evanston, and went to a race meet at Wyoming Downs, and I had a heck of a time finding a hotel room on that weekend. And when I called the hotel and I said, so you don't have any rooms? No, don't you know the racetrack's running this weekend? I'm like, okay. So I think it's important that you get with those local entities, and I think the state does feature horse racing as well in their travel guide, but I will check on that. But I think your local lodging tax boards are a great source of revenue to do marketing. And I know in our case, and statutorily, that money can only be used for advertising. So it's a great way to advertise your race meets.
President Broussard,
Yeah, go ahead,
do we still, a question for you, Representative Newsom, do they still have the granting program with the Department of Tourism?
Yeah, and that's generally granted through the lodging tax board.
Okay.
So there's some co-op opportunities between the lodging tax board and the state that the lodging tax board can apply for those funds. I think there'll be a second round of what's called destination development funds, and those funds are not limited to advertising, and they can be used for a lot of other things, signage and that sort of thing. So I think if you explore those things, it would be a great opportunity for you to partner with your local lodging tax board and indirectly with the state.
Thank you, Sandy. Anything for the good of the commission? Anybody have a comment before we adjourn?
President Broussard, real quick.
Yep.
I have already created a survey for meeting dates and sent it all. It should be at your WIO board's email address.
Thank you, Nick. You're a star.
And you should also have your link to the rulings already emailed to you, so you can see that. And then we will put together the other complaints or something. What was the other piece we had to put together? It wasn't on the website. Yeah.
Suspensions.
Yeah. The Breeders' Award Fund suspensions, get those to you. So.
Thank you, everyone, for your attendance and your patience. We appreciate it. At the moment, we'll call the meeting, we'll adjourn the meeting. How's that?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, guys.